Whoa, 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 hey, yeah, don't look at that, ignore that. Yes, Starboost is done behind me, but if you guys remember in the last update video, I had just started sanding Starboost in the garage, and I really hadn't applied much paint. Obviously, a lot has changed. Now, I want to take you guys through everything that's happened. I'm going to break these update videos into 3 sections now. The first video, this video you're watching right now, is going to be about the paint process, everything I did to get these colors, some things I might have skipped out on, some details I might have added, and a lot of cool little things I did, you know, kind of wrapping that up. After that, it's going to be the electronics and wearing it. Things I adjusted. I had to con crunch really bad in order to get the electronics sustainable. This way I could do photos and stuff, but there's a lot more plans with that, and we'll talk about that in the next video. And then the third video is going to be things I learned wearing it to my first 2 cons. I did something similar with the Mark 85, and that paid out in spades on wearing this to my first con. Some things still went wrong, and that's going to be in the third video, or I guess like video 9 or 10. I don't even know what these things are on, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm not going to drag the Mark 39 all the way back into the garage, but I am going to take a few pieces off of it. We're going to go back into the garage. I'm going to talk about the paints I used, show you some tips and tricks, and, you know, really just get you up to date on how it came to look like this. So, magic snap. No, snaps are stupid. Okay, here we are out in the garage. I got a couple pieces of Starboost. I got a Telmith. I even had the Hot Toys figure out here for the paint reference that I used, and it helped so much. But first, before we kick this off, how much paint did I end up using on Starboost in total? Well, luckily, I saved it all. Right here on the table is all of the spray paint I used on Starboost, and it really wasn't that much. First off, let's talk about the primers I used. I was showing you guys the Duplicolor red filler primer. This stuff is amazing. However, when I went to go order more, Amazon accidentally sent me the gray stuff. It doesn't sand as well. I still, Rogues Gallery Cosplay, Aaron explained it pretty well. It has to do with the rust oxide or something in this. It's different. But they both work really good. I just like the red stuff better. Now, as you can tell, there are 12 cans there total, and this is a little bit of an expensive primer. Now, I probably could invest that money into a spray gun, which would be great, but then that kind of limits what you guys can do at home. If I'm using all really high-end materials and guns and paints, it's going to kind of narrow what you guys are going to be able to do in your own garage in a DIY level. So I did go a little overboard, mainly because I didn't spend a lot of time sanding Starboost. And something like that is absolutely a factor when you're considering how much time you're going to put into a cosplay. Because of this massive con crunch I was under, and I know it sounds so stupid to say con crunch, I've been working on Starboost for 2 years, but everything just seemed to come to a head. I wanted to get it done for Cosplay World Richmond and then New York Comic Con, so me slacking and taking so long to do it, it really kind of bit me in the butt, you know, when push came to shove, and I just didn't spend as much time sanding Starboost as I really wanted to. Obviously, it's a lot of big flat parts. I could have really just ripped through it with my palm sander here, but I didn't have the time. I had to start priming it, so I dumped a lot of primer in it. If I had spent the time pre-sanding with the 60 grit and 120 grit and really having the time to do that, I probably could have used 6 cans of that filler primer and called it a day, but I just had to load up so much more on it to get it to the quality I wanted, and honestly, it still isn't there. Luckily, white hides layer lines very well. Next up, believe it or not, this is all of the white I used. I'm not kidding, this 2-in-1 Rust-Oleum paint primer covers so well, and since most of Starboost ended up being primer gray, instead of me having to cover all the red primer, most of it was gray, so it took the white very well. I did use a little bit of this normal primer, I think on the helmet and like the chest, but this worked fantastically. Initially I was using this high gloss, but I ran out at empty can, and Walmart didn't have the high gloss, so I went with the semi-gloss, which worked fine because of the ClearCoat I ended up using, and I know you guys have been waiting to learn more about that. Initially, I was going to be using this pearl white perfect match. But after I found this really cool clear coat, I ended up not using this because this is a lot. You can get 4 cans of this white for like the price of one of these, and it's much smaller. So I ended up not using it and redoing the helmet I did. So that was the white that I used. It was great. I also used the oil rubbed bronze, and that isn't what gave me this this rainbow effect. It's kind of hard to see in here. It needs to be a much brighter light. I'll show you some. You can kind of see. You can see the rainbow there. See it? So that's from the clear coat, but underneath it is the oil rubbed bronze. And there are a lot of hexagon panels on Starboost. However, again, this is like an all-in-one paint primer kind of thing, so it covers beautifully. It doesn't matter what you're going over, this stuff will cover it. It's great. And then this is all the gold I used. This can's empty. This can is about half empty, because if you can see, Starboost doesn't have a lot of gold here. It's the helmet, it's some accent details, the abs, the waist, the knees, and I actually didn't do those inserts. We'll talk about that in another video, but not a lot of gold on Starboost. Like, the helmet has the most. And this is the same gold I used on the Mark 85. I did, like I said, want to try to find a different gold, but honestly, now that I'm looking at, come here, now that I'm looking at the helmet side by side, it actually matches pretty well. Isn't that kind of, that's kind of crazy, actually. I like that. You know what? You stay there. So that's all the paint I used. Now let's talk about the clear coat that a lot of you guys have been asking me about. Now initially, I didn't know this stuff existed. This is the Duplicolor 1K clear, the high gloss that I used on all my other stuff, except they have an extreme pearl finish now, and that's what I ended up using over the whole suit. And I mean the whole suit, all of the white, all of the gunmetal, or all of the bronze, whatever the heck. I can't talk today. And then all of the white. Now it's a little hard to see. You can kind of see there's a little bit of a pearl finish, no more. Basically what I'm trying to allude to is when I was using this Duplicolor Perfect Match white, the resulting pearl that this gave me was the exact same as this. They really didn't look that much different. I probably could have put more work into it, but it really gave me the same effect. It gives a little bit of a blue pearl flake. This stuff is really cool. It showed a lot more on the gunmetal, on the oil rubbed bronze, but it really doesn't show too much on the white. The white is just, well, it's just white. Now let's talk about this rainbow effect. And when it's really sunny out, this stuff looks amazing. And here's some videos I got of it in the sunny light. But in the garage here, there it is. I can kind of get it like that. You can, oh, there it is. You can see it changing color. I really wanted this for these like heat panels. It's a spacesuit. I figured this is kind of what it needed to look like. And that's over all of the panels. The order of operations I did here to get that was once the entire suit was done, I did the white, I did the oil rub bronze, I did the gold, I did the pearl clear coat. Everything's done. Then I just took this really awesome Duplicolor Clear Effects, EFFEX. This stuff's amazing. And I just dusted and just saturated all of the hexagon spots. And I didn't need to worry about overspray because this stuff doesn't show up on the white. It doesn't show up on the pearl. It doesn't show up on the gold. It really only shows up on dark colors. So I didn't have to tape anything off. I was literally just sitting here, just dousing this stuff, just covering it. And it came out, well, as you can see, it came out pretty nice. And it didn't interfere with the clear coat. It didn't interfere with anything. See, because this one isn't, it's not round, so you can't see it. Yeah, it still looks fine. Now, before we move on, everything I showed you will be linked down below in an Amazon cart. You don't have to buy it from Amazon, but at least you can see the exact name and title of the paints, from the primers, the whites, the golds, the bronzes, and that really special clear coat. I know that that clear EFX effects stuff is really expensive online. You can get it at AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Napa, Advanced Auto Parts. It's still like 20 bucks a can, but you can, it covers so much. Just do some testing with it. Like I said, it doesn't really cover, it doesn't really show its, you know, shine on light colors, but I'd be really interested to see that on like a dark red or like some darker gunmetals. I think it would look really cool. Or even some blacks, I should try that. But I want to talk about a little bit of the elephant in the room that I'm sure some of you have already noticed with me showing you the parts to Starboost. She's got some layer lines. Starboost definitely isn't as sanded and smooth as my Mark 85 was, and I've had 3 times to repaint the Mark 85, so it's a lot smoother. And this unfortunately is just from me rushing. There's no other way around it. But I do want to talk about just, it doesn't matter. I think this is something that we do when we compare our cosplays to each other and we see them on social media. And when I take 100 pictures of my Mark 85, I get to pick what picture I show you guys. I get to pick the best lighting. I get to pick my favorite one. I'm not doctoring or editing them, like, not like that, but I get to show that. And that's how it goes with everybody. That's how it goes with, you know, all the other Iron Man cosplayers and other armor cosplayers. We're picking the best photos to show you guys because we're proud of our work. We don't want to put the worst ones out there. So don't get too hung up on making it perfect, because nobody's is perfect, except maybe like Aaron's here. I've seen that thing in person, and we should start a petition to just ban him from cosplay, because it's not fair how nice this suit is, and I will fanboy over it forever. I love you. There's a rule in cosplay called like the 5-foot rule, and it's just this dumb thing, but like, yeah, up close, yeah, you might be able to see some of the layer lines and where like some of the paint bled through, but when you start holding it far enough back, you can't tell. If it looks good from a couple feet away, it looks fine. And then you're taking a picture of it, and then you're putting a filter over it, and then you're uploading it to Instagram, which compresses the absolute crap out of it, so you can't even tell that those lines were there to begin with. So don't get too hung up in trying to make this perfect thing. I see it happen all of the time with people just wanting it to be perfect. You're looking at it this close. I still see some layer lines there. I gotta sand the whole thing back. Don't. Push on. You would have way more fun in a suit that was 99% good actually going to a convention, going to these cons, having fun with it. That is way more rewarding and better than having a suit you've spent 5-10 years on because it just isn't quite perfect. You're missing out on a lot, so don't stress the small stuff. If it looks good enough from a couple feet away, or even if it doesn't, go and have fun with it. I really rushed on Starboost, and I can go back and start fixing things. I don't need to strip down the whole suit. I can do the forearm in one time, sand it back down, paint it, and then I can move on. Or I can move on to other projects, because you know what? I'm proud and happy with it. And after seeing some of these photos, like this one, whew, there are a lot more to come on that, and I also need to do like video shots of me in Starboost. I have like none. I'm proud of it, and I'm not gonna resand it or paint it. I gotta touch up a few things, and we'll talk about paint protection when we get back inside. Look at this glove. Look how awful this is. The paint looks terrible. There's no clear coat on it. I didn't sand the fingers. Oh well, it's still an Iron Man hand. And you know what? When the light's on, you can't really tell anyway. So let's get back inside and finish this up. By the way, I can wear this whole glove without having it plugged into my suit, and that's actually kind of cool. Little battery pack back here. Isn't that neat? And it turns off. Pew pew. Oh yeah, one last thing. I am the big dumb. All of these little red triangles and all the little hand-painted details that I did on this, that's exactly what it was. I just used the Hot Toys figure over here as a little bit of a reference to add some details. And obviously there's not as much red on the Hot Toys, but I decided to add a couple little intake vent triangles. These were all hand cut out of red, just, you know, silhouette cameo Cricut vinyl. I didn't have time to set up my vinyl cutter. It was literally Friday night. I was hand cutting all the triangles and just throwing them on, and I think it adds a really cool pop of detail to the suit, and I'm really proud of it actually. And then all of these little lines, I actually ended up cutting into them with a little Gundam marker. It's like a little Sharpie with a fine felt tip, and I just added a lot of detail back to it, and it turned out pretty good. So you can decorate it and detail it however you want. You can see all the black lines, and it really makes it pop. Okay, we're back inside. Everything has obviously been painted, and I was able to wear Starboost around. Now, let's talk about protecting that paint you just put so much effort into, you know, painting. One of the big reasons I ended up battle damaging my Mark 85 is just from the wear and tear it was suffering, wearing it to cons, packing it into suitcases, taking it on airplanes and stuff, and flying around and just kind of being a badass and fighting crime, which the last part's, you know, fake. And it just started to get a lot of wear. You can see underneath the biceps here how damaged all the paint is from walking around and it's rubbing and scratching. Inside of the thighs from touching. Unfortunately, I don't got that sick thigh gap, yo. You can see right here from the abs kind of bending and subducting and rubbing against it. The paint is just going to eventually take a lot of wear and tear. And I was just, you know, kind of resolved to let that happen. But once again, I probably should have listened to Aaron over at Rogues Gallery Cosplay a little bit sooner than later, because he finally turned me on to clear vinyl paint protection. It's pretty awesome. Now, it's just a little bit hazy. It's really, like, it's fine, but I got an entire roll of this stuff and like covered Starboost in it. All the rubbing, touching, pinching points at least. And it wasn't just Aaron who suggested it. A bunch of other people have kind of talked about it, and it can be a little bit tricky to apply, but it worked like a charm. One of the big spots I put it in, it was all of the white in here, and you can just barely maybe see the line right there where there's no paint protection up here, but it's down here, and from it, you cannot even tell from a distance. All of this white in here is all covered in vinyl on both spots, and look at that, there's no scratches or scrapes. There's actually some scrapes up here where I don't have vinyl, and that was from just the contact area in the cod piece. I could have added more here, I just didn't really think to do it. This entire gold piece up here that touches the top of the chest, all of this, that's all vinyl, right? You actually see a little bit hanging over, but like from a distance, again, you can't tell. This is all vinyl right here, so this doesn't scrape. The biggest spot that took damage was probably the biceps, because I didn't account for the shoulder pads rubbing and scraping right here. But on the inside of the biceps, all in there, you can see, look, I can wipe that off. This is all vinyl paint protection, and this all held up great. It didn't rub in there. I lost nothing. It only started to scratch where I didn't have the vinyl. Luckily, this entire bicep part is just one color. It's gonna be super easy to repaint and repair. I'm not too concerned about it. I also threw some vinyl around where the shoulder hits, and then I even threw some vinyl where the helmet and the chin is going to touch the backpack. I'm very proud of actually how I did that. This way, as I turned my head, you can see I got a little bit of a scrape right there. That's not the end of the world, but as I was moving my head around, the helmet wasn't scraping the backpack, and it worked perfectly. Another spot I did a lot of that vinyl paint protection was the back of the arm. Because there's so much going on here and moving, this entire gold piece that's sitting in there, that is completely covered in the vinyl. So is the bottom part of this white elbow. Because it goes into the forearm and moves around like that, I didn't want that getting scratched. So the gold part right here, you can actually see a little bit, that's where the line ends. This is all vinyl protected. This entire gold part's vinyl protected. And then to stop a little bit of the noise, at the very end of the forearm, this is just EVA foam that I glued to it. This way, as the glove, it moves, and the glove kind of moves around the forearm part, it doesn't get scratched up and it doesn't clank as bad. Same goes for the little areas right in here where it was hitting the bicep, but you know, there's gonna be a little bit of casualties. There's gonna be spots you just can't put the vinyl, or it's not gonna last as long. And obviously, if I wanna go and repaint this, I'm gonna need to pull all of that vinyl off. So that's now an added expense to, you know, doing big repairs or something like that. In order for me to repaint this whole bicep, I'm gonna need to pull all of this vinyl back off. And it really shouldn't be too bad, but this stuff is great, and it's kind of making me want to just repaint my Mark 85 and keep it clean again now that I know about this stuff. Let me know down in the comments if you would like to see a very nice, pretty clean Mark 85, or you much more prefer the battle damaged, weathered version. I kind of like the battle damaged version more, but let me know. I love that. So that's pretty much going to be it for this video, guys. The next video following this is going to be about the electronics, the really kind of janky, quick, dirty electronics I did in order to get this to work. It has 2 Crashworks boards in it right now. The helmet's all self-contained, and then the repulsors in the hands are literally just dollar store clicker closet tea light things. But it works, and then we'll talk about the future plans I have to add more lights to this, add some cool smoke effects. That is still going to happen, but I just need to have time to do it. But like, this is it. I am so happy with how this thing looks, and having both suits here, like look, it's great. So I hope this video answered a lot of your guys' questions about the painting process. If you have any more questions, please leave a comment down below. You guys know I read all of them, and I will respond to as many as I possibly can. And if you did find this video informative or helpful, please consider subscribing and ringing the notification bell and select all. This way you stay up to date on all of the videos coming out, because I just don't do Iron Man stuff. I do 3D printing and tutorials and other cosplay stuff. It's gonna be great. I am now a full-time YouTuber content creator. If you wanna know more about that, go check out this live stream right here, talking more about that, and I'm very excited. This is my first video as like a real-life full YouTuber. So I'm super excited for what the channel is about to turn into and continue to grow. So thank you, everybody. It's like 620,000 subscribers. Like, what happened? But definitely stay tuned for the next Mark 80. It's not the Mark 85. This is the Mark 39. This is the Mark 85, and this is an idiot. Please make sure you stay tuned for the next Mark 39 update video where I will be, like I said, covering the electronics. Following that video will be the things I learned at a con, the quick fixes I had to do, the compromises I had to make. But all in all, it went pretty smooth. And also stay tuned for another Mark 85 update video because I had to redo all of the wiring and electronics and that again, and I have some plans for that. So there's definitely information to still be pulled from the Mark 85 side, and maybe we're gonna start talking about a third suit. We'll see how it goes. But I've been rambling long enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it every single time and every single view. Thank you. You guys have a good day. Look at how much more of a tank the Mark 39 is compared to the 85. Like, I'm this tall in the suits when I have like the booster shoes on, but like, it's, and to think I printed this using less filament, like,